All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets for this Sunday night football game. And so looking at it, it's going to be a matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Minnesota Vikings. It is a 2.5 point spread, about a 42 for the over and under. Looking at it right now, we did get news that Alexander Madison is actually going to be expected to play, which really throws a wrinkle into this whole slate. I think he would actually be the first player to suffer a concussion this season and then play the following. So I still feel like it's slightly up in the air there. Definitely noteworthy, but it's very interesting there. Justin Jefferson still out. So we know that Jordan Addison's going to get a heavy target share. Probably TJ Hawkinson going to get a heavy target share. But all in all, the biggest issue that we have on the slate is what to do with Ty Chandler, who to me has always been the better runner compared to Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison is just the more complete back. He's an every down back. And all in all, he's not bad. Like, I feel like he's been getting a lot of slack for just being, a slight plus across the board. Whereas Ty Chandler, he's a better runner. Like, they probably should have been trying to get him more work, but he also has fresh legs. Like, we see this a lot with backup running backs throughout the season where they look better simply because they have fresh legs. And one thing that's going to be noteworthy is that KJ Osborne is expected back. He's going to be good to go in this game. And why is that noteworthy? Well, last game he sat out, and the game prior to that, he only played 26% of the snaps because he was out with an injury. So with that, Brandon Powell, I feel like his snaps are probably secure, but we did see a little bit more two tight end sets. Josh Oliver probably not going to get as much work. Jalen Naylor got 90% of the snaps. I don't know if we can project that to happen. I think it's going to be Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne again. So I started with that because we are seeing Brandon Powell's unders be favorited, and I would probably agree with that. Now, that being said, right away we are seeing that Vegas is suggesting that the Vikings passing game, which has been pretty good, could struggle. And part of the reason it could struggle is because like TJ Hawkinson has been getting so many targets. He's like banged up. He only played 62% of the snaps or so the last two games because he's taking a lot of hits pretty much, because he's getting a lot of targets, because he is their number one passing target. And so if he still like stays banged up and not playing as much, then all in all, I do worry about some of the props that we're getting for him. And if he is banged up, then these are going to be more likely to hit. But all in all, we can see that this Brandon Powell 124 receiving yards is definitely too high. And so clearly we're not going to get any props for the running game until it's been confirmed. And I would say we don't know what's going to happen just in general with the running back room. Like, Ty Chandler is expected to take on a bigger role. Cam Akers is someone that was playing about 30 or so percent of the snaps. I think regardless, we're going to see Ty Chandler get that. But the thing with it is, it's like I feel like he's going to get a better situation, kind of like Cam Akers did, where obviously with Madison playing as the every down back, the situations are not going to be as great. And what I mean by that is like third down situation, third and long, you might get like a draw and stuff like that, or you might get an easier reception. I still think we can lock Chandler into around 30% of his snap. That being said, Madison's probably going to get some catches in the passing game. I probably don't mind Madison in the passing game. If his receptions are like 1.5, I'd probably bet the over. That being said, I do think Ty Chandler has a good chance to get around. Let's take a peek at what Cam Akers had per game. 25, 19, 31, 8. So honestly, if Ty Chandler's like rush yards are at like, let's say less than 20, or rush yards are less than 20, I might be fine betting the over there. I probably don't want to touch Madison unless it is in the passing game. Like, I think he still will get some work in the passing game. He's a good blocker. Like, that's why he's getting playing time. Yeah, probably over 1.5 receptions, but granted, it really just depends on where the prop line comes out to. So for Josh Dobbs, we're getting more props here. I'm actually going to refresh the data here on my end to see if we're like what the fantasy score thing would be that we would want to run out. Now, a lot of his production has come from rushing the football. Like, he's probably been the best rushing quarterback over the last 2 weeks. That's where his production is coming from. Like, as a thrower, if we are being fair, he's kind of not been that good, honestly. Like, he's been good at hitting the plays that are there, but he's had a couple of throws the last 2 weeks that should have been picked off that just were bad plays by the defenders. And all in all, Kevin O'Connell, if this team makes it to the playoffs, maybe he's looking at coach of the year. I'm not even joking, because with the best receiver out in the league for as long as he has been, and arguably the quarterback that has thrown the ball the best thus far, if he's out and Joshua Dobbs is able to lead them to the playoffs, I think that's more of a positive on Kevin O'Connell, which Vikings fans, if they would have heard me say that at the start of the season after their start, they'd have been like, what are you talking? But they would have to win this game for that to happen. All right, so I did update it. All right, we are getting some Madison props. Look at that. That's nice. All right, so let's reset. This will be quicker. That doesn't always work out. That's nice. So Josh Dobbs, under 34.5 for rushing yards. The average Vegas line would have set at 32. All in all, I probably don't want to touch that. We are seeing Jordan Addison for over 10 for a fantasy score. Slight edge there where the average sportsbook line is favoring at 10.5. And so we know this is a solo game slate. We're not going to get any really preferred bets. To me, that probably is the best one that we are getting. And all in all, I probably would still like the over for Alexander Madison at 8.5. It is a bet on the workload. I know the data is telling us to bet the under there. I don't know. To me, that seems a little bit too low. I do worry about TJ Hawkinson. We can see that really PrizePicks is overvaluing it compared to everyone else. Now, I love TJ Hawkinson. I mentioned in a couple of best ball drafts, I've gotten really lucky where I overdrafted TJ Hawkinson a bunch, like all over the place. He was the player I was going out of my way to draft the most. Him and like Jake Ferguson, tight end wise, that's worked out really well. But in a lot of my drafts, like at the end of the camp when Dobbs was traded to the Cardinals, I loaded up on Dobbs and I have some of the luckiest stacks ever. Very lucky there. But yeah, TJ Hawkinson, guys, who's playing about 60% of the snaps, gets the best matchup for any tight end. You could argue he has been or is the best tight end this season. Oh no, I hope no Swifties are listening to this. They're gonna hate. But yeah, I'm probably just staying away from this. I'd probably want to bet the over actually on underdog there instead. Pass attempts for Dobbs, that's very much game script dependent. We know that. Ty Chandler, so let's see here. 9.5 receiving yards, not touching that. 8.5 for his rush attempts. So where are his rush yards at then? Receptions 1.5 for Ty Chandler. Oh wow, that's very high for Ty Chandler. So they're expecting him to have a good workload. And I did mention I wouldn't mind Madison for over 1.5 receptions. I would say that somewhat would correlate with him getting over 8.5 for a fantasy score. The data is telling us that they think Chandler's going to be involved here. That's an interesting thing. Now we're seeing Brandon Powell at a slightly favored for the over, receiving yards at 21.5. Interesting there. Interesting. So yeah, I'm pretty good with just Addison and probably Madison over fantasy score. We can see the best one here is going to be Addison for over fantasy score. So now we're going again to Denver and just showing you guys the snaps from Denver. We have seen Marvin Mims get more playing time. Like he had 69% of the snaps. He's someone that I've been going back and forth on picking up in some leagues. Like I picked up A.T. Perry in one league, Marvin Mims in another, and actually I don't know which is correct. I might actually I'm gonna switch that in one of my leagues right now because A.T. Perry's on a bye, so chances are you can pick him up next week, whereas Marvin Mims, if he has a good game, especially in a decent matchup, you're not gonna be able to get him. And what's interesting is he actually played more snaps than Jerry Jeudy. The issue that we have is that this is very much kind of a run first offense, and I think we can see that echoed just by the snap counts by the tight ends. Like they are doing a lot of 12 personnel there. Javonte Williams has looked good. We did see McLaughlin get about 15% of the snaps, P. Ryan about 33. And we know P. Ryan is game script dependent. If the Broncos are playing from behind, P. Ryan's going to be the pass catching back. If they're playing with the lead, Javonte Williams is going to get a lot of work. And just for what it's worth, going back to that kind of Marvin Mims take, an A.T. Perry thing, like Michael Thomas is projected to, I think, be out for a while. And so A.T. Perry stepped up and played like Michael Thomas. Marvin Mims is someone that clearly has the talent, played a lot of snaps, and if he's going to be playing a lot of snaps, eventually the Broncos are going to have to throw the football more. So thus, eventually I think Mims is going to have a good game if he's playing that many snaps. And so looking at the props that we're getting, they're kind of suggesting that Wilson's going to struggle, and one way that he would struggle, I guess, is if he doesn't rush the football that much. The interesting thing about this is that the Vikings are a team that blitzes a lot, and so it really just depends on how comfortable Wilson is going to be in the pocket. He has been definitely rushing the football a little bit more, which has meant that his fantasy upside has relatively been there. He just hasn't been throwing the football that well. So like fantasy score wise, I don't know. It just feels like a stay away because can he break a couple of big plays? Yeah. Is he going to throw for 2 and 3 passing touchdowns in every game? Probably not. But the way they've been setting up plays has been there. I will say this Adam Troutman one that we are getting for under receiving yards, somewhat interesting, just given the fact that his snaps have gone down and he really hasn't been a part of this offense. And so, yeah, we can see the average sportsbook line would have set 11.5. That is decent. We're going to see Javonte Williams for under 18.5 for receiving yards is one that it likes. P. Ryan for under 17.5 receiving yards. Again, that is very much game script dependent. If they're playing from behind, he's going to get the over. If they're playing relatively close and P. Ryan doesn't need to get that much work in the passing game, then yeah, he will get the under. Javonte Williams fantasy score, we're going to see that on underdog, that's going to be a much better bet. Cortland Sutton, we're seeing probably the correct lines. He has kind of been the receiver number one. His touchdown, a little bit lucky last week, so I don't think we want to touch fantasy score because on all the line that we're getting there would suggest that he would get a touchdown. 4 receptions is correct for him. We see Russell Wilson at 5 for rush attempts. That to me is kind of interesting, just given the fact that the last few games he has been rushing the football a little bit more. And again, if the game stays close enough for long enough, I actually don't mind that over for him. Javonte Williams rush attempts at 16.5. Guys, they want to rush the football. They really want to rush the football. And so we see Javonte Williams here. He ran the ball 21 times, 27 times, and it is crazy. Like, Williams is a guy in which already had an injury this season and is coming in off of that injury. Like, it's crazy that they're giving him like 27.5 total opportunities the last 2 games. I mean, that is crazy. But in this game where it should stay close, I don't mind Javonte Williams for over 16.5 rushing attempts. They want to get into the football. Jalen McLaughlin, he is playing some snaps, 6.5 receiving yards. I want to take a peek at that. Okay, 2 receptions the last 2 games. Like, when you see a running back get 2 receptions like that, especially one like him, where, you know, it's mostly third down situations and whatnot, you'd kind of expect him to have more than that. So maybe there's something there. But that's enough of the breakdown. Let's go and get into my favorite bets for this game. And so I do want to toss in that we do have a good tackles and assist prop. I'm okay with that. I'm going to use that one. That's a good EV bet. Probably not touching the Russell Wilson one. Probably not touching the Josh Dobbs one. I just don't like quarterback rushing prop. To me, the 2 best bets we honestly have are Addison and then this tackles and assist prop. I'm kind of fine with that. I do like Madison for over 8.5 for a fantasy score. We got another tackles and assist prop that got bumped. Now it's basically being valued as a push. I'm going to give you guys a 2 slip bet, and then I'll give you guys kind of a full game stack bet slip as well. Obviously, the 2 slip bet is one that I expect give us a best likelihood to cash. And so this first one I feel much more comfortable with. It just has the best EV bet chance for us to hit. We're taking the tackles and assists at 54%. Jordan Addison about 53.9, so almost 54% chance to hit. The nice thing about Jordan Addison is that they're not factoring in a touchdown into this at all. Now, yes, touchdowns are fluky, but all in all, a lot of the fantasy score props are juiced up given the likelihood to score a touchdown. His receiving yards is set at 47.5. His receptions is set at 4. You know, that's about 9.7 right there. If we get lucky with a touchdown, then it should easily hit. And this is just the best one that we have. And then a little bit more of my personal thoughts, like all in all, probably too thin. Like, the more times we do this, we're not going to be successful in the long term. Adam Trautman for under 12.5 receiving yards should be a good one, I think. You could game script a little bit where you're doing P. Ryan over receiving yards or Javonte Williams over rush attempts. Like, I went with Javonte Williams over rush attempts. I think it's going to be a close game. I do think Madison's going to be involved in this game. Definitely risky. You could just script Ty Chandler in there instead. They both get a good matchup, and we don't know for sure if Madison's going to play. And honestly, I probably should be tossing in some Chandler exposure just in case he gets ruled out. Again, I think Madison's the only player thus far this season that has had a concussion, a confirmed concussion, and then played that same week. And then again, just using the other 2 good bets that we have. That's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want access to the tools that you saw available in this video, click the link in the description below. It is available for just $10 a month. That is going to be all. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.